5:30, Madam Chair.
All right. Motion meeting call to order. All right, salute the flag. We will come to that in a minute. Approved minutes for 1/19/21. Motion, please.
I motion.
Second.
Thank you. Any changes? No, seeing none. All those in favor? Kevin?
Yep, Jen,
Yes.
Jerry,
Yes.
Darlene, I see you there. Yes, hello, Darlene.
Hi, Kevin, yes.
And Kate
Yes.
and Micah.
Yes.
Any citizen comments at this time? No, I can't see everybody. And
I don't see anybody.
nobody, no citizens. Oh, Sarah Rice is there. Oh,
There's somebody on the phone.
nobody's chiming in, right?
Nope.
No frantically waving people. Okay. All right. Presentation of school programs, FYI items.
No.
Anybody? No?
No.
No. Okay. Old business, tuition contract.
I can speak to that real quickly. At the joint SAU 9, SAU 13 board meeting last Thursday, Jack Waldron said he would kind of take the lead in the organizational. So I forwarded names and contact information for all the SAU 9 boards. So they'll be reaching out to you folks.
Great. Will they keep the chairs in communication as well as the people that we've sent?
Sure, sure. The first one's just kind of organize. They have to organize before they can really do anything yet. So
Okay, great. All right, we'll move down to the instructional issues, first reading of policies. If possible, I'd like to make a motion to accept these 1 through 7, and then we can discuss them individually should we want to.
I can second that then.
Thank you.
all those in favor of the motion, Jen,
Yes,
Jerry,
Yes.
Darlene,
Yes,
Kate,
Yes.
and Micah.
Yes.
great. So first one, JIH student searches and their property. These are just the first readings. This went to the policy committee and now they're here for everybody here to look through. Any changes or questions? Nope. Okay, good. JIHR, search of students. Questions? Nope. Okay, JIHB, searches of students' automobiles on school property. This definitely applies to Jackson. Yep.
right. I hope none of our students are driving their own vehicles to school.
You may have some high school kids who do come back and do enrichment or.
Well, that's true. Yeah.
Okay, CA administrative goals. Okay, CCB, line and staff relations. CD, individual school administrative personnel. And then CM, school district annual report. Any changes to any of those? Last chance, it's gonna go off the second reading.
Question on the school district annual report is, do we do that all the time? Is that just kind of the verbal wrap up, Kevin, that you give in July or August sometimes?
That one is, I'm just pulling up here.
Mhm.
Basically, it's a combination of two things. You know, I kind of do an annual report that goes into your annual booklets, but then yes, kind of the end of the year review as well.
Because that policy is pretty specific to being at the end of the year. And I just don't recall necessarily getting a school district annual report per se, other than just the one that you and Gail gave at the end of the year. And I know if that's the same thing or if this is something new.
No, that is the same thing. It's just a model policy that goes in there. And it also is covered in the SAU 9 newsletter, Jerry, that goes out each year.
Okay. All right, all those in favor of moving 1 through 7, first reading policies on to second reading?
I roll call Jen,
Yes.
Jerry,
Hold on
Yes.
a second.
Darlene,
We'll talk soon.
Yes.
Okay,
Kate,
Yes.
and Micah.
yes.
All right, we do have 7, consider personnel actions. We do have a 7A. We need to actually vote in this position before we can actually advertise to hire for this position. So this is a housekeeping, what I would consider a housekeeping vote per se.
So Gail, you can speak to this, but.
Or, I was going to say that the funds, we had a Title I position last year. Because of the COVID, we did not expend a good chunk of that money, so it was carried over for us to finish using this year. So I'm hoping to hire a tutor to work with some of the kiddos between now and the end of the school year to bring them up to speed in both reading and in math.
I'll make a motion to establish a part-time Title I aide position at the Jackson Grammar School effective February 5th, 2021 for the remainder of the 2020-21 school year.
Second.
Any discussion?
I think that's great, Gail. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for your advocacy, Gail.
You're welcome.
All right, by roll call, Jen,
Yes.
Jerry,
Yes.
Darlene,
Yes.
Kate,
Yes.
and Micah.
Yes.
Business Affairs, FYI 2021 budget status report. Any questions? No? We're good? All right. Administrators reports?
Yeah, just real quickly, sent an email out to all the SAU 9 board members. We had well, now we call it a pandemic response team meeting last Thursday, and took a look at, reviewed the latest guidelines, protocols, athletics, return to play, as well as the current conditions, the numbers. And as a result of that, next Friday preceding the February break was a scheduled remote day, and decision was made to make Thursday prior to that also a remote day. I know that it's a little bit difficult, but we did run into some issues over the last 2 breaks, and this is really kind of a advocacy for a lot of the staff members as well that have had to quarantine a number of times. So trying to minimize their exposure so that hopefully they can get a break over the February break. But I did attach the presentation. Those numbers now are about, well, they're a week old anyway, but I think you can glean a good amount of information out of that. The title of the document is Phase 5, hard to believe, but we're creeping up on 11 months now of working with the pandemic here, and staff are continuing to just crank through and do the best that they can, and they're doing better than most places. So that really is the latest update.
Great. It was a good meeting last week. It was very thoughtful, well thought out. Yep.
I definitely appreciated receiving that presentation and getting to dig into it today, Kevin. So thank you.
Mhm. Gail?
So I think one of the reasons that we might be doing well is we're spending a whole lot of time outside, and the weather's been pretty cooperative. Today was absolutely beautiful. For the most part, kids are still eating their lunches out in the pavilion. We've rearranged the lunch schedule so that each class can share that. It takes a little bit longer to deliver the lunches, but Lisa has worked real hard to keep it up to temperature. We've been serving out of the Whitney Center, and that's working well. PE, as you may know, has been our cross-country program. Folks from ski touring have given us skis, and so every Monday, all of the kiddos get out for at least an hour of Nordic skiing with some instruction from the folks from the ski touring, and both Ellen and Emily have done a fabulous job of being supportive and helping us out with that. They're also running themselves an after school ski race prep kind of an activity for kiddos. So although it's not a school program, many of our kids go down and spend the afternoon outside on Thursdays. We've only skied once with ESSC. Last Friday it was too cold, and then the first ESSC, they didn't have enough snow or lifts open to make it safe to go. But we're looking forward to tomorrow with a new dump of fresh snow out there. The conditions should be really great, so we're looking forward to that. And John has made the use of that, even though we haven't needed the lodge room. The day I went there, it had been freshly bleached and cleaned, and everything was in really good shape, and our kiddos could come and go without interfacing with the public, just as I had hoped. So it's all working out very well.
Great. That's fabulous. Anything else, Gail?
No, I think that's it.
Good. All right. Thank you. Board member issues, community report, the policy committee. We just reviewed all the policies we have going forward. So we're rolling through all of the policies pretty nicely right now. We're doing a good chunk of them every meeting, and bringing some up from 82 to current standards and filling in some holes that we have. So I'd like to thank Kate for being on that as well. And for Katie Wilson for really spearheading it and doing a fabulous job of it, as well as bringing all those policies. So we're happy to be doing that. Board discussion. So I think this is the area that we want to talk about. We're a goal setting session. So I am still waiting for a response from Sasha, which I should hear from soon, on some definite dates that she would like to do. And we'd like to have a goal setting session that would, and Jerry and I have talked about this as well, and Gail, would like to have one that we had a few years ago, which we found really helpful, which is to include the staff as well and get their input and their buy-in as well as to where we want to go and what we want to focus on for this year, next year, and even the year after, and how we want to proceed with those things, so that we can get everything done that we want to get done, but in a way that is not going to drive everyone crazy. So pretty much.
And can you speak to that a little bit more so that I can, do you see that? That sounds awesome. I'm totally on board for that. I just want to understand, is the session with staff considered something different, or is that under the goal setting rubric? And one of the reasons I ask is inside the strategic planning committee, just so that we're kind of like understanding these stars that we're kind of putting into this constellation.
Okay, so this would also include that. So we have a lot of things, the EDI, if I'm saying that right off the top of my head, sorry. We also have the strategic planning. We have the facilities coming at us, and then COVID is still upon us as well. And I think there's one other thing that I'm forgetting. All these things are coming at the school at the same time. And then the SAU strategic goals as well are all coming down the pipe at the same time. So the goal setting session is typically a time for us to take a pulse where we are and hear what the staff also is looking for, and then take all of those things, our desires, our wishes as board members, as well as Gail's, and then the SAU and the staff, and really discuss them and prioritize them, make sure that we have the stage set to make sure that each of those projects is successful, put a timeline, a realistic timeline down for those things, so that we're all not asking Gail and the staff to do different things at the same time. And we really want to show our successes. So in order to show our successes, we have to show, a timeline and our goals. So, and how to establish them. So we've done this in the past. We haven't done it in the near past, which we should have. We tried to have one last year and we didn't, but in the past, we have had the staff come in and just to collaborate with the staff and find out what's working for them and what's not working for them. And then we have a smaller meeting with Gail and then ourselves and a facilitator to help us get through all of these goals that we have and really prioritize what's going to work, what's feasible, what can we do congruently versus we need to wait on this one and move this one ahead, and then funding and support that we need for all those. So I find it's an excellent session that we've had. I've been involved in several of them now over the years, and they keep getting better in my eyes. So we would like to have one this April, May, and that would also align with when Gail needs to get her goals set for the upcoming year. So Jerry or Gail, did I miss anything on that?
I think too, there's always the curriculum development and growth that we are constantly revising and updating all of our curricula across the SAU, social studies, science, math, reading, and so forth. And then we've just begun an implementation of the new social emotional learning competencies. And once you get the competencies from the state, you have to do more or less an assessment of where you are, look where your holes are in your particular program, and do some direct tweaking and developing new instructional strategies and new methods. And some of those things take some time to become part of the everyday repertoire of the school. And then, we have the new research, brain research and behavior and classroom management. I mean, there's a whole host of different things. We've really focused a lot on technology this year necessary to implement the remote instruction. So we have to think about the amount of time teachers have to they have to also do professional development to maintain certification. So there are a lot of different directions we're asking our staff to think about and learn about and have input to. So it just makes sense to have it be congruent with the work that they have to do. And if it's something new, giving plenty of time to build the skills they need to get there. So.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Jerry?
I think that all covers it pretty well.
Okay. Anyone else? So that's, so Micah, does that answer or help with the
Yeah, no,
question?
that's super helpful. And Gail, when you, and Jerry, when we're in our strategic planning conversation, what we can do is just make sure that that's supporting it in the best way. And that's really our goal, is so that everything intertwines well and starts with where the staff is at and where, what you need to be successful with that, Gail, and integrate everything. So we're really trying to integrate those things versus, so that they can support each other as we move forward versus be kind of additional work on top of each other.
So I have a question. So you have this session in April or May, and you set some goals. What typically is the process from there? Does each maybe segment then get looked at periodically? What is the review process, I guess, is my question.
So typically in the past, we would put it on the agenda. We would get the updates from Gail, is very good about giving us updates on where her goals are and where they are in meeting them. So as well as the SAU 9, Kevin is well-versed at giving us updates on the goals and when we achieve them as well.
Okay, great, thanks.
I would say also that the goals have built into them, a timeline with
Okay.
charts to meet along the way that that we'll see as we go through them. So we'll know more of that, Darlene, when we actually set the goals. One thing
Okay.
Sasha's great at, and Kevin's great at, and Gail's great at, is facilitating these for a purpose. And that purpose often isn't just to set a goal and leave it hanging.
Right.
It has a timeline and it has a way of implementation and a way of having feedback to know whether it's we're achieving those goals or not. So
Excellent. Thank you.
So when I get Sasha's dates, because she seems to be obviously, the person we need there is the facilitator, and she has some time constraints. But so when I get her dates, I'll send them out to everybody and we'll see if we can fill them all in. And I'm sure it'll be a Zoom meeting. Maybe by then we can have it outside, which would be lovely, so that we can have more people. I find person-to-person conversations to be more honest and open, and we can get through a lot more. So we'll see where we are at that point, but look forward to that email with the date so we can get that going. Any other board discussion at this time? Anybody else want to talk about anything? Throwing it out there. We got 10 minutes before the next meeting.
Think of
Um,
the break we can have. Well,
We do
maybe
need-
what would be helpful for me is to understand, so there's this conversation about like, and I think to Darlene and I who are newer on the board, right? Like we have this question about the public meeting and when it's happening. And now all of a sudden we're having the meeting that we're having. And Jerry, you and I talked about how that might get postponed. So can someone just outline?
Like I
what-
was just gonna
Yeah.
start
Take it
there.
away, Jerry.
Perfect.
Because we set, and I think we did it back in either November or December, we set the time and date of our annual meeting. And you can see on the agenda, it's for Thursday, March 4th at 7 p.m. At the school, meaning at the Whitney Center, I guess, or anywhere on the school property is valid, I suppose. So that's what's set. And if we're going to change that, then we need to make a motion to do so. We've got lots of options on what we can do to change that. And that's where we're at right now. So I would suggest that we should change that date because that date's coming up pretty quick. And I don't think anybody thinks it's going to be realistic to have an annual meeting in person on March 4th.
So Jerry and I were talking that we could push it possibly to June. I mean, there's some things that we took into consideration. Relatively, there'll be no change on the board. Word from Kevin on our contracts is that, or Gail, that they'll probably be addressed as to extending those. So we may or may not have to worry about those at this time, but if we push the date out, and I think, Jerry, were you waiting to hear if we had to have our meeting before the town meeting?
No, I wasn't waiting to hear that. I think that Jen, that confusion came up when we had the bond to pass that year. And that had only to do with getting our warrant, our book published by a certain date. And that had to be before the town was planning to do theirs that year. But Kevin, do you know what the SAU is kind of setting up, or what you guys are thinking, or what the other school districts are planning at this point in time?
Absolutely. Thank you, Jerry. So there are a couple pieces of information I think that are really important. One is you have to go to press pretty soon if you don't have a date picked out here. So most of the districts, we have these things in place. Every district's kind of doing a little something different. So in Bartlett, they're having their annual meeting the first week of March, but their voting is in May for the ballot, because they have some big issues. They have a contract, a collective bargaining agreement. They also have their budget, and so the school is having their meeting in March, but the town is having their meeting in May. So there are two different ballots that will go forward. They won't vote for school board, moderator, school clerk until May, which is less critical. Different towns are doing different things. I know that some are postponing directly out. Eaton was pushing their meeting out to a later date. I did talk to the attorneys, and right now the extension to the notification was 2 weeks past the annual meeting. Okay, so for example, if under the emergency orders, the only issue is if you push it out to June and the emergency order ends in April, you would have to notify people 2 weeks after that whether they would have, their contracts for the following year. Okay, so if you don't have a meeting till June and the emergency order ends, then you really have to probably say to folks, we can't guarantee you have a contract next year. Now, there's probably this good faith piece between you folks in the teaching staff, but I do know that teachers do get a little bit anxious and a little bit nervous when they don't have a contract signed. So, those are a couple different things. Albany, they're making a decision Tuesday night, and I think they're going to fall into the same thing as Bartlett, where they have their annual school district meeting in March at Kennett Middle School, and then the voting for the positions will take place at a later date on the Albany town meeting. Chatham is doing a face-to-face meeting. They had talked about doing it on a Saturday so that if it was nice weather, I know Lily, Jim, and I were there last night. And we said we could be outside for a 45-minute meeting because it was still pretty nice out. So everybody's kind of all over the place, and yeah, the big thing is we can put a date on there, and then it just has to, under the emergency order, get postponed, and then you can postpone it again. And a lot of towns had to do that last year during the pandemic.
So Kevin, you said that Chatham was doing theirs in person. Were the other towns like Bartlett and Eaton doing theirs remotely?
No, Bartlett is doing theirs in person. Hart's location is using Bartlett facility. Conway is having their deliberative session face-to-face in the Kennett Gymnasium, the auditorium, and the cafeteria should they need it. Chatham's face-to-face. Nobody is trying to do the hybrid remote piece. They're just, I think the moderators in the school of folks are saying that is, especially in some of these smaller towns, Jerry, there's no reliable internet in some of these locations. So they're trying to either push it out or do it face-to-face.
And we don't have reliable internet in Jackson either. The selectmen just last night or Tuesday night ran into problems with just a few people at their meeting. So that's definitely an issue here too. We do have some options, I think, as far as how we can do it. I mean, we can keep it as scheduled for one thing. And if there's board members or moderators, a moderator that doesn't feel comfortable going to an in-person meeting, they can appoint someone pro tem to attend the meeting for them. Postponing it, I think, is certainly a good option. Under that, I don't think SB2 hasn't passed yet, but the emergency orders said that that you can pretend that it does, basically, to fill the gap between now and when the legislature should pass it sometime this month. But we can keep it as scheduled and postpone it as we get closer to it if we want to, but we would have to have a meeting before March 4th to facilitate that. We can postpone it this evening, and we can postpone it for a time in April. We can postpone it for a time in May, or we can postpone it for a time in June, and just see as we get closer to those dates. If we're not comfortable having it in April, then we can postpone it till May. If we're not comfortable having it in May, then we can postpone it till June. We do have those options, to go from, which isn't a bad one. If people aren't comfortable with having it March 4th, personally, I'm comfortable with having it March 4th. I think the number of people that we have show up at our meetings usually is pretty low. We can go that evening, see what it's like, and if it looks like there's too many people, we can cancel it actually that evening and postpone it for at least 2 weeks, but we might postpone it for longer. But if the majority of the board prefers just to postpone it, I would recommend we postpone it till at least April at this point in time, or May, when we're comfortable having it and can schedule it with you guys. So.
All right. So
Can I ask about Kevin about hiring? So that would mean any new hires or replacement hires or anything like that really couldn't happen until after the budget was approved, I'm assuming. So does that kick any new hire out till after June if we wait till June?
That's correct.
Because that could be, it's a competitive market with few qualified people out there. So the more time you have, I think, to recruit and locate a good candidate for positions. Not that I'm anticipating a huge number of positions, but if we do have some, the earlier meeting, April or May, would be easier to find qualified staff at that point, I think.
And I hear you, Gail, too, because we have some pieces of the puzzle, right? Like our amazing person who's like is like a language teacher. I mean, we have these sort of niches that we're trying to fill, right? So
Right.
supporting you to be able to have that out there.
Okay, so we're a minute away from going. Oh no, is it tonight at 6?
Yeah, 6 o'clock. Yep.
Yep. So
Real quick, I just want to notate that I would like to focus on the committees that I'm on, and I believe that Kate has generously offered to be part of the facilities committee now that I can focus on the strategic planning committee. So I just wanted to bring that up for the whole board really quickly before we hop off to the other meeting.
So we're going to hop off to the other meeting, and then we're going to come back to our meeting.
Okay.
Okay, so,
Is it a different, did I put it on a different, it's the same one. I think all you're gonna do is recess this, Jen.
Yep.
Yeah.
I
And then,
just, does it make a motion to recess?
Second.
okay, great.
yeah, and all in favor, Jen,
Yes,
Jerry,
Yes.
Darlene,
Yes,
Kate,
Yes,
and Micah. Okay.
Yes.
great. So now we're gonna head over and let folks in for our budget meeting.
Yeah, they could have joined anytime, so we're all set. Sorry, let me get this here. Good. Yeah, it's an open meeting. Your board meeting's an open meeting anyway, so
I don't see anybody else here.
I
Okay,
see a couple people.
okay.
That's it. Oh. Erica.
All right, so I'd like to call the meeting to order, the budget meeting to order. Do we need a motion for this? It's just a-
Nope, it's a public hearing, so you've opened the public hearing. So at this point, if there's, you read the articles, I guess, and just kind of inform the public of, and then if they have any question, it's really the public's hearing at this time.
Okay. Okay, so with that in mind, we would like to call to Article 1. We're going to jump right in. All right.
Sure.
To see if the school district will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $2,993,118 for the support of the schools, for the payment of salaries for school district officials and agents, and for the payment of the statutory obligations of district, with $17,100 offsetting this amount from various grants. This article does not include appropriations voted on other warrant articles. School board is in favor. Any questions? Reviewing? Okay. Article 2. How about we have, anybody else want to read one? To see if the school district will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $25,000 to be added to the capital reserve fund, which is our special education fund previously established for this purpose. Again, the school board is unanimously in favor. Okay, Article 3. To see if the school district will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $15,000 to be added to the capital reserve fund, which is our school bus fund previously established for this purpose. Again, the school board majority vote approves. Crickets? Okay, Article 4. To see if the school district will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $3,000 to be added to the Whitney Maintenance Trust Fund previously established for this purpose in 2010. Again, school board recommending this. And number 5, to transact any other business that may legally come before this meeting. Anybody? Based on this, I think we should move forward with our March 4th date. All right. Is that it? Nothing? We don't get to review anything? We don't go line by line? Nothing for anybody? No, nobody's here, right?
Well, you've done that at the previous meetings, and then if anybody you've given some overviews. The budget hasn't changed since your last meeting. I don't know if any of the board members want to comment on anything, but it is for the public, and I know it's being recorded for your TV. So.
Okay.
And like you said, Kevin, and we actually at our previous 2 meetings, we went over the actual budget pretty thoroughly. And the only thing that we added to it from 2 meetings ago to the last meeting was the $70,000 for the architectural fees for considering an addition to the school. I would just kind of just want to point out there, I guess, for the record, that the things impacting our budget the most for the increase this year in the general budget, operation budget, was the New Hampshire Retirement Fund. There was a big increase at the high school tuition, an increase in the Bartlett tuition, and then of course the $70,000 for the architectural fees are the big items that kind of contribute to the increase in our overall budget.
If people stick around for the rest of the meeting and watch the rest of the meeting, I'm sure during your committee reports, if you have an update from the facility. I know Gail pushed some of the documents that you might want to speak to the board.
Okay. Great, so we'll adjourn this meeting and move back to our other meeting.
Oh, sorry. There we go. Okay.
Okay, so we left off with Micah. You want to repeat all that nice stuff you said about Kate?
Yes, I'm such a big fan of Kate's. And Kate has generously offered to step into the facilities committee because I felt like I was going a little bit too hog wild with my commitments. So Kate has stepped into the facilities committee role if that works for everyone.
Unless Jen or Darlene are chomping at the bit to get after the facilities committee. I'm happy to take it over unless someone else really feels like they want to.
Well, you want to arm wrestle?
I don't know,
Virtual arm
Darlene. I
wrestle.
mean,
That's
I
what
think
I hear.
that
That's
could
what-
be fun. We'd have to
we'll
be
have to
within
do
6
that
feet
on-
of each other, though.
But thank you, Kate, and
Anytime.
thank you, Micah. I appreciate both of your efforts and your honesty with your time. So, and your respect for your time. So I appreciate that. And that's fine with me. So.
Great,
Cool.
here to support Kate and Jerry. You know that. I'm on the team.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other board discussion at this time?
I have a quick question. So we have a March 4th meeting. Do we also have a later in March board meeting? Or is that not, that's the only March meeting? I just had one on my schedule also for another time, and I want to just confirm that we
So
don't.
that would be the only March meeting, and we wouldn't meet again until April, which would be ordinarily be an organization of the new board, which does, I should bring up, so like Bartlett, our ballot voting day is in May, and that's May 11th. And it's a drive-through voting is as planned right now, and that'll be at the, probably utilizing the road going up to the town garage. Town meeting is then scheduled for May 15th, and they're planning on having that outside at 10 a.m. on a Saturday, is what the town's plan is for that. And I'll just go back to, right now we have a March 4th meeting scheduled, and I'm okay with leaving it there, but if the board wants to postpone it or is planning to, we should do that this evening.
Right. And that's where we were discussing that as well. So I'm okay with postponing it a little bit. And I don't want to have any of my concern would be that we wrap it up before we have to leave teachers in limbo. So that would be my main concern. And then based on the attendance of tonight's meeting, I'm feel much more, fine with leaving it for March 1st or postponing it till early April. Maybe we could have it outside at that point. Anyone else?
I mean, I
Yes.
would like to see Gail get her ducks in a row and get the positions that we need hired and everyone to feel good and secure. I wish we had a crystal ball to know if anyone, we had Erica here tonight, and we've had a handful of people kind of pepper in throughout our meetings over the last several months, some better attended than others. I really wish we could have some semblance of knowing what it looks like if people will attend at all, knowing that we're not, so Jerry, we're not voting.
You're voting
Yeah,
on
you
the
are.
budget. You're voting on Articles 1, 2,
Right.
3, and 4. They just reviewed. But as far as school board seats in your moderator, in your clerk, that would be done with the town. And Jerry said it's on May 11th.
Got it.
And just to kind of clarify, Kate, whether you have your deliberative session or the in-person session before you do the ballot voting or after, it doesn't matter. Once one of the voting has started, in other words, like if we have our March 4th meeting, that our annual district meeting begins at 7 p.m. on March 4th. Even though the ballot voting is May 11th, our meeting is actually still in effect. It doesn't end. It keeps going until May 11th. And at the close of the polls on May 11th, then our meeting will officially end. And at that point in time, for the school board anyway, that session of the school board, that the members that are currently on it, that session ends at May 11th on the ballot voting day. If we have our annual district meeting after May 11th, then our meeting begins on May 11th and then runs through to the end of our annual district meeting, whether that's in May or in June or July or even August, whatever we have it. That meeting doesn't officially end until it actually closes. We can have other meetings in between, but you'd have to do some recessing and some re-meeting. It would be kind of complicated.
But it's just the warrant articles, right? So the warrant articles, if it's March 4th, get voted on by 3 people or 10 people or 100 people, right? And then that's what, yeah, Kevin.
So just as a point of information, what you would want to do at that meeting in March, if it's on March 4th, is make a motion to not reconsider those articles, right? Because as Jerry said, if it's on forever, somebody could come back, in May 1st and say, oh, by the way, I'd like to reconsider the operating budget and add 200,000 or reduce it by 200,000. So you'd vote to reconsider. Then it would be, I can't imagine anybody would do that, but it just kind of protects and kind of
Okay.
does that.
Micah, Darlene, any way?
What is our role at the March 4th? What do we physically do? We don't vote. It's the public that votes.
You do.
Right?
If you're a Jackson resident, you do.
If you're a Jackson resident, you vote.
So essentially, Darlene, we go through the same process we went tonight.
Okay.
And then Jen or the moderator would read the article. And then if there's discussion, somebody may say, why did you guys put in $70,000 worth of facilities money? And then Jerry or somebody from the facilities committee would answer those questions. And then people have the opportunity to make motions on the articles.
Okay.
And if there are no discussion, then you take a vote. And anybody who's a resident of Jackson, regardless of their position in town, gets to vote on those articles.
Okay.
But typically, Darlene, if there's much discussion, then there might be some back and forth between the board and the discussion going on the floor, is what our role would be that evening. And I would just also add that you can't attend that meeting remotely. If we have that annual district meeting in person, you actually have to be there. But you can appoint someone to be there for you pro tem.
To vote, you mean? To vote?
Well, I mean, that person would have to be a Jackson resident. They'd be voting on their own behalf, not on your behalf. But they would be representing your school board seat by being there. But you can't.
Okay.
You could watch that meeting online and attend it remotely that way. I mean, we could have you up on a screen there, but you're not officially there as a school board member.
Okay, so I will not be in the state of New Hampshire the entire month of March is where I'm going with this.
Right, which you've said, yes.
So I'll be away the entire month of March.
Okay.
What if we can do it with open doors? So we do the Whitney Center, everybody's at their own table, like the school board, we like amplify social distancing. We have a lot of ventilation, windows, doors. It's like, bring your layers. We're coming to Whitney. Yes, it's going to run the heating bill up for 2 hours, but we're going to do it. And we keep moving that way.
I think that's a great idea. And I think,
Yeah, I'd be
based on-
inclined to get it done because it does affect the contracts.
Right.
The only other thought is early April, just to give the group a chance to, if there's some kind of preparation that needs to be done and, you know, it's already the 5th of February. That's my only thinking, but honestly, I think getting it done and getting
we're
it all
ready.
in line.
We're ready for the meeting, darling. This is it, like.
Okay, yeah.
Do we have any sort of like criteria where X number of our board needs to be there? Because if, I just want to make sure that, right, because that would be an important thing to address.
No, you could have one board member, because at that point, really, it's
It's the
it-
town.
the town.
Okay, great.
Right.
As long as we're not gonna run into that issue. Yeah, I mean, I think if we can have the doors open and we can
Yeah.
mandate that we have that ventilation. I don't know if Sasha will moderate it, so we might need to think about if we need to bring in another moderator.
We've already asked somebody else too.
Okay, great.
And my question, Kevin or Jen, if there's like a board member representative, I mean, I don't think none of us will, only one of us will go, but like, if there was someone that do the board members votes as Jackson residents, because as a collective, we've kind of decided on these things, like, do those 5 votes count? Like if Darlene's not in attendance, her vote does not count,
That's correct.
right?
You
And
have
so
to
to
be
be
in
counted as a
attendance.
board,
Yeah.
you have to be there.
You know, whether you're a board member or, just a member of the legislative body, you have to be there in order for your vote to count.
Cool, I just
Yeah.
wanted to clarify that.
And I would say, I like the idea of having it then with the windows open, doors open. Our meetings usually aren't that long for those. And we do have the option if we show up and we determine that, okay, we've got 15, 20 people, whatever number we think is safe in the building. I don't know whether Stokey has those numbers or not already, but I know Karen does. The clerk, because she did it for the voting session that we had in the Whitney Center. So we know what number is safe in the building to keep socially distanced. If we have more people show up than that, the moderator can declare the meeting not safe under RSA 40:4. And we can, then the school board would vote to postpone the meeting to another date. So I mean, that's an option that we can have for that evening if that's how it plays out.
Is it possible, Jerry, to declare that number before, so it's not something fluid, like it's like this is the actual number? Is that what you're saying?
I think that would be a good idea, Kate. Yeah, and I said, I think the number's already known. And we can consult with Stokey and what the town's already compiled for that to determine, hey, if we have 15 people, we're good. If we have 16 people, we're not. Or whatever that number should be, 16, 25, I don't know off the top of my head, but we can certainly figure that out for sure.
If it's
I think that
45
might be really
degrees,
helpful. Sorry, Kevin.
I was gonna say, if it's 45 degrees, you can do it outside. I mean, you're on the premises, and as long as there's no issues, you can do it in the parking lot or under the pavilion. You can do it basically anywhere right there.
Can you move the time earlier than 7 so it's, so you
Mhm.
might have a little sunshine?
Great idea.
You could.
Do it at 5:30. I mean, you don't want to interfere
Yeah.
with people who are working, whether it's remote or not. They're still
Yeah.
working.
Or you could move it to 6.
Yeah, I wouldn't move it any earlier than 5:30.
I think moving it till 5:30, declaring the number that we need, understanding that we might have to shift it, and ventilating it.
Yep, I think you're right. I would get it done.
I think we're all in favor then of moving forward. I think we have a majority of moving forward with March 4th at 5:30.
I'll make a motion to reschedule our annual school district meeting on March 4th at 5:30 PM.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor? Kevin?
Yep, I'm just double checking, make sure. Yeah, on the 4th, we're good. I just, some days we have like 5 different annual meetings and we don't have any staff to be able to be there, but we're
Very
okay.
narcissistic.
All right.
Can Billy make it too?
Kevin, can I just interrupt? There's no way I can be there for 5:30. I can make it by 6 and that's pushing it, but I can't make it for 5:30.
Okay, we can do 6.
Make an amended motion to have a 6 o'clock meeting.
I'll amend my motion to 6.
Yeah, Lily needs to be there.
6 o'clock. Okay. So all those in favor of moving it to 6 o'clock on March 4th, by roll call, Jen,
Yes.
Jerry,
Yes.
Darlene,
Yes,
Kate,
Yes,
and Micah,
Yes.
6 PM.
And Jerry, do you, let's see, since you know the town, or Karen, or do you want me to figure out the exact amount of people that is safe? I can do that.
Yeah, no, I can figure that out, as I talk to Karen pretty regularly about that. So I was just talking today about it, in fact, because trying to figure out how the town's going to do drive-through voting for ballots is kind of crazy, but it's what we're going to do, I guess.
Are they gonna have
So
someone?
yeah,
from
I'll talk to
Chick-fil-A?
Karen about that. And certainly I think Stokey probably knows too. And
Yeah.
so,
Okay. We don't even have a
I'll talk.
Chick-fil-A locally that they could, use for drive-through. Speeding up. I don't know if you heard that on the news. That was pretty funny.
The only other thing I think that maybe we should do tonight, and I guess it doesn't matter, but I'm kind of a stickler to this sort of thing. We're supposed to actually vote in favor of the warrant articles up or down after the public hearing.
Right.
So we should probably go through that. So if we want to jump right into that, I'll make a motion to vote in favor of Article 1.
Okay, I think they're already on there. It's 5-1.
They are.
Well, go ahead, Jerry, sorry.
We voted to put them on the warrant. We haven't voted after. You're supposed to have the public hearing, and then the board actually officially takes a roll call vote on supporting or not supporting the article. So I think actually you don't even need a motion to support. I think we just go through the articles. Kevin, you can probably facilitate that for us, I think, at this point.
You bet.
Okay.
And just say whether we support Article 1 or not. And then
So- There we go. So there's the articles. Article 1 is your operating budget. Jen did a nice job reading that, $2,993,118. So by roll call, all those board members in favor of this article is written. Jen,
Yes.
Jerry,
yes.
Darlene,
Yes.
Kate,
Yes.
and Micah.
Yes.
Article 2 is your capital reserve fund for special education. And you are looking to vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $25,000 to be added to that fund previously established for that purpose. All those in favor of Article 2 as written, Jen Insaldi,
Yes.
Jerry,
Yes.
Darlene,
Yes.
Kate,
Yes.
and Micah.
Yes.
Article 3 is your capital reserve fund for school buses. You're asking the question to raise and appropriate the sum of $15,000 established for this purpose. All those in favor of Article 3 as written, Jen,
Yes.
Jerry,
Yes.
Darlene,
Yes.
Kate,
Yes.
and Micah.
Yes.
Article 4, to see if the school district will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $3,000 to the Whitney Trust Fund, Maintenance Trust Fund established in 2010. All those in favor of Article 4 as written, Jen,
Yes.
Jerry,
Yes.
Darlene,
Yes.
Kate,
Yes.
and Micah.
Yes.
There we go.
Great.
And that's it. The, you folks, we will need signatures signed by you folks. And I know, Lily, we have 2 different documents that have to be signed. And looking at what we need live signatures on those. So I'm looking for what the best way to have that done, because we do need to post this rather quickly. So I don't know if the best thing to do is bring it up to Jackson and leave it with Jen at J-Town, and you can see her and she can have all you folks sign it. I can bring it up tomorrow morning, and if you get a chance, swing by and sign those documents.
Would
If
it be
that's okay
possible
with
to
Jen.
leave it with Susan, Ross' parent, and have us sign it outdoors at the grammar school?
I could do it at the school. Yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
You have to have physical signatures.
We do. Yeah.
If you leave it at the table for where Susan has it outside the window at the school.
Yeah.
So when will it be there, just so I can make myself a note to make sure?
I can email it to her right now.
Okay, so
Great.
then Gail, what are the hours that we could swing by to make sure that that happens?
8:30 to 3:30.
Tomorrow, okay.
Yes.
I'll set an alarm.
And if you need other time, I can make arrangements to get that done. Jackie can deliver it and pick it up or do whatever.
Yeah, I'm in Connecticut.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I can't sign tomorrow if you put it in before 3:30. I mean, if it were at Jen's, I could
Darlene,
sign it.
we can have Susan or myself drop it off at J-Town and then you have,
Yeah, I'll be
So-
back late tomorrow.
Oh, okay.
Later in the afternoon.
Yeah, that's fine. Or even, I think we can do it even through the weekend on Monday.
Okay.
We just have to get it to print and press and post it and all those things.
Oh, I'll be happy to bring it back.
all right.
Great. Great.
So I'll pick it up from the school closer to 3:30 if everyone else.
Okay.
is signing it,
And then-
I'll bring it to J-Town.
Okay,
All right, and then you can just text me when you're on your way
Yep.
over.
I will.
Okay,
Perfect.
Great.
great, okay.
Okay,
Eileen, if you want to meet me on the weekend or tomorrow late afternoon, I can bring it into the office on Monday for you if you're not going down to Conway.
no, I go to Conway. It's like,
Great.
yeah, that's fine. I'm good. Thanks, Pam.
Any citizen comments at this time? We missed that, I guess. Just making sure. No, okay. And there is one thing, oh, I forgot under board issues. I would like to change, and I know we've talked about this before, but change the salute to the flag to the verbiage of Pledge of Allegiance. And we need a motion to do that or review the policy. But that's all I'm looking to do. Is just change salute to the flag to Pledge of Allegiance.
Why do we need to do that?
It bothers a community member because it is incorrect. We're not saluting the flag. We're not saluting the flag. We are actually saying the Pledge of Allegiance.
But I guess my question is, do we need to do either?
Yes.
Yes.
I would like to, yes.
Okay, but I'm just trying to understand from like a precedent or regulation standpoint. Is that part of the protocol which is in place for school boards?
It's part of our agenda policy. I don't know if it goes beyond that, Kevin or Jerry.
It's actually, it's not a part of our agenda policy. We brought it up last January 2020 and we tabled it and never put it on our agenda. That's right in our meeting minutes, and I'm opposed to actually putting it on the agenda at all, so I'll just leave it at that.
Kevin, do you have any other input on that?
No, some boards don't have it on there. Some boards do.
I feel like, so I've been here for now 3 years, which is, I can't believe it. But I feel like it wasn't there. And then Jerry, like something came up where maybe somebody asked a question and then it just kind of started popping up. And then we went remote, but I feel like we maybe did it once. And I wasn't sure if it was just something that the community had moved away from or why we were doing it. But it kind of, it feels like I don't know, I have a question about it too, Micah, where it doesn't feel like we do it. I don't know if it's not a policy, I don't know why it's there. I guess that's kind of my question too.
So we've never done it at our school board meetings. The select board's never done it at their meetings. We've always done it at our annual district meeting and the town meeting it is done. And that's at the prerogative of the moderator.
All right, so then should we vote to remove it completely?
Well, in my mind, I don't know, it's not on the agenda legitimately because we never voted to put it on the agenda. So it doesn't really matter to me, but I won't vote to put it on there, so.
I agree with Jerry.
All right. So then let's make a motion to remove salute to the flag. If we don't need to do that, then we can just remove it. I was under the impression it was on our policy, then we had to.
I think it got on there, Jen, because it was up for discussion last January and we voted to do everything but that. We tabled that one And that probably just got looked over and missed, and it was assumed that it was on there. That's how it got put on the agenda. So I mean, so it doesn't really need to be a motion to remove it, since there was never a motion to put it there. But to some degree, to me, it's your discretion of the chair, really, to, how we want to run the agenda. So
Well, okay, then,
You can give me direction if you want to remove it off there, if it was never on there. I just don't want to do something without at least the board taking a position to either keep it on or remove it.
all right,
like I said, I think the history of it got there kind of accidentally because it was on the agenda last January. We tabled it because it was at the board meeting that we were going to put it on there. It was just 3 of us. It was Kate and Jen and I. Micah and Keith weren't at that meeting. And I thought that if we were going to do something like that, it should be a full board decision. And we didn't have the full board that night, so we tabled it. And then it never came up again for discussion. It just got put on the agenda. So I mean, I'll make a motion to remove it from the agenda, just to clarify it at this point.
I don't.
Second that.
All right, I say we just remove it.
Point of information,
Yes,
it's
What's
on,
the-
it is in your policy. I just pulled it up. It was adopted February 6, 2020. Salute to the flag.
okay, so it is on the policy.
But it's not a policy, it's just so then can we make it a motion, just remove it from our policy if it's not something that is stipulated by the larger governing body?
No, you can do that.
Great,
You're in the process of doing it right now.
Right, yeah.
perfect.
Jerry made a motion,
It was seconded by,
I seconded it.
so roll call in favor of removing salute to the flag from the agenda.
Jen,
Yes,
Jerry,
Yes.
Darlene,
Yes.
Micah,
Yes.
and Kate.
Yes.
Don.
Kevin, you never have me not be last. That was very
You
exciting.
know, I just keeping you awake. It's Thursday night.
We
Actually,
really
like
like
the
the
end, I thought when
and-
Darlene joined, it was sort of by seniority, and then I thought maybe just like that, I just like rounding it
Totally
out.
accidental, totally accidental.
Oh,
all right, I think we're at the end here. Yep, we have no non-public. We've already.
Was there any intent to address the facility piece? I know that if not, that's fine. We can put it on the next one. I just did have those concept plans. I don't know if the facility committee is ready to even discuss that at this point.
I think they are.
I don't think we have any new information to talk about it. I wasn't sure whether we were going to meet tonight right before this meeting or not, and obviously we didn't, so it's kind of a moot point.
We
But I
want to
think
just show the plan.
Yep. The plan is here.
Okay.
Perfect.
I don't know if you want that one or this one. You tell me.
The other one, Kevin.
Okay.
This one's a little bit more, shows a little more detail. The other one just shows the footprint on the actual grounds and how it would fit into the property.
Yeah.
But what this plan does is it takes, right now, the school has, it has 4 classrooms, but 2 of them are really very much below the standards for a classroom size. So we don't really have 4 classrooms in my mind. We pretty much have 2 classrooms that barely make the standards for a classroom, and then 2 that are far below the standards for a classroom. And this takes it and gives us 5 classrooms that they're still not necessarily up to the standards for a full-size modern classroom, but they get us a lot closer to that. And it gets us 5 really classrooms that we can actually use as classrooms as Jackson's needed. It does include an elevator that's being added, a new stair system. It gives us a separate room that could be used for preschool. It gives us new office space. It's a really good reconfiguration of the school, plus adding additional space that's very needed. And the elevator that's in there is actually it's more to make the basement more usable as far as storage and getting things up and down into the basement. It's not necessarily a lift for the student population.
So for those at home, or for those who aren't familiar with floor plans, this is the front door with the main entrance to the building right here. Then you have these existing classrooms. Okay. And then this is the elevator that Jerry's speaking to. There's also a stairway here going down. And then you currently have the kitchen, speech, teacher's room area, and the library right here. So the new space, if I'm correct, Jerry, would be this classroom here and this preschool room here on this end.
That would have a separate outdoor entrance to it.
And a separate entrance right here. And then it looks like, I haven't studied these too much, but it looks like a secondary means of egress or heading outside.
Now that door is already there.
Is it?
And in that wing, right where you see those two offices where principal's office is there, that is one small classroom. And across the way is another small classroom. But
Okay,
you can see they've added 382 feet onto the existing smaller classroom. And then they've turned the front small classroom into two office spaces and a hallway to connect to the main part of the school.
got it.
And that 382 square feet would be achieved by extending the roof line, the existing roof line out towards the stream in the back or the fence that's back there, like towards the garden area. So it would maintain the existing roof line and just extend it further.
So basically, when you're driving by, you still have the same quaint feel of the school and the town.
Yeah, really from a visual standpoint, from driving by, certainly driving up the switchback, you're going to see, a significant new building portion there. But from 16B, the building appearance really won't change that much at all.
Be nice for the community, I think.
Yeah.
As well. Yeah. No, I think this is great.
It looks awesome. It's exciting. It's really cool.
They can get all this done in a summer, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what they said during the last one too.
I think Jim said they could get it done in the month of July and be
Right.
completely done.
6
Right.
weeks.
Right. Otherwise, we'll be having classes at J-Town.
Yeah.
Okay, that's great. Thank you.
And just for the public information, I mean, we're with the money that we're hoping to have in the budget this year, we're hoping to get to the point that in March of 2022, to the idea of bringing it to a bond is what we're hoping.
Great. Excellent job. No, I'm excited.
Thank you.
There is some town discussion on it. It would be nice. Yep. Okay, anything else?
May I just ask a question just before like these kinds of meetings, the kind of February and March, we usually need to have 30 minutes for a board meeting. Is that on the 4th? Will we have a 6 o'clock board meeting and a 6:30 annual meeting? How's that work?
We'll have to, we should probably plan on having a remote meeting at 5:30 on the 4th, if we can.
I would say 5, because then for those of us that need to actually get to the school.
Actually, that's probably smarter, Jen, yeah.
Yeah. So
Jen,
let's
our
have it
commutes
at
are
5.
very long.
Pardon, Kate?
Our commutes are very long.
Yes, I know, but you have to
But Kevin's
get off the
Kevin's
bus.
is, and I don't know where Gail's going
Oh,
that
that's
evening.
right. Yeah, how does that work?
Not a problem, not a problem.
I'll give him a classroom if he wants to come hang out at the school and be
Yeah,
remote in the library.
that's probably what I'll do is just pop into classroom or
Yeah.
someplace. All right, so 5 PM on the 4th for the board meeting. Got it. And that will be a remote meeting.
Yes.
And then in preparation for the 6 o'clock annual meeting.
Thank you.
Got it. Okay.
All right, so Jerry, you're gonna find out how many people were there so that we need, that can be in the building, and then we will request Mr. Stokey and company to arrange the Whitney Center as such for the meeting on March. Okay, Just making sure. All right, anything else? Hearing none, motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second,
All right, thank you, guys. Excellent.
Thanks, everyone.
thank
you.
you.
Everybody.
Ready to, thank you.
Good night.
Take care. Stay safe.
Night, thank you.
Good job.